Hey. Hi, everyone. I'm Nan Henson of Enneagram Atlanta and Enneagram Georgia. Please be sure to catch my episode on the Worthy podcast with host Steve Worthy. We're going to discuss the Enneagram and how decision patterns are formulated. So I can't wait to see you there.
Outstanding. You are so adorable and delightful. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. That's awesome. I love that nervous energy. That's so.
It is. You can see it.
It just makes you who you are.
Endearing.
Endearing. There you go. That's the word I was looking for. It's actually the word I was looking for. It's actually what I was looking for.
Okay.
All righty. Excellent.
I'll get better.
Oh, you got it.
It'll slide into it.
You got it. You got this. You got this. All righty. So, here we go. So, hello, community of listeners. Thank you and welcome to the Worthy Podcast. We are so excited today to talk to you about this topic. This is a topic that has been asked for a lot within our community, and it's about decision making. However, my thought was, how do we think about decision making differently? And any of you who have ever spent some time with me, talking to me or clients or whatever, you know that I just simply love the Enneagram. It has changed my life from like the last 2 to 3 years, how I think about things, my perspective of my life personally and professionally. So today, I am so fortunate to have Nan Henson, who is I won't even call her the founder. I won't even call her the CEO. I will call her, she is actually the embodiment of Enneagram Atlanta and Enneagram Georgia. I just gave her a little introduction, but Nan, please tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do and your passion for the Enneagram, and we'll move into some questions.
Okay. Well, I guess I can start by introducing myself as I'm an International Enneagram Association accredited professional, and I'm a certified and authorized teacher and workshop facilitator. And that's basically all to say I'm a really big Enneagram nerd. I like all things Enneagram. Yeah, but I am the owner of Enneagram Atlanta, and that's where I run my workshops and see clients. And along with my colleague, Enneagram colleague and friend Linda Roberts, we have Enneagram Georgia, where we do a certification program, which we train and certify people to feel confident using the Enneagram in their life and work. So that's me in a nutshell.
That's you in a nutshell. Excellent. Well, Nan, one of the things, like I said earlier, was that, we talk a little bit about this whole idea about decision making. And, I often think, and I think you would probably agree with this, is that the actual decision is always the result of things that we've actually thought about previously, or actually our patterns of thought process and the things that we believe, all these socialization, whatever it is that has actually made up either our personality, and then that actually kind of transforms into the actual decision. The Enneagram for me has simply changed my life. Could you tell me, before we move into the idea about the pathway from a type standpoint, could you talk a little bit about what the Enneagram is? Because I know there are a lot of people who have probably taken a Myers-Briggs, DISC, and all of those different things. And I think of it so much more than a personality test. And I can go on, but this is about you and your expertise. So I will let you go ahead.
Okay, that's great. Well, I think it's helpful to start by kind of unpacking the word.
Yes.
The word Enneagram it's a Greek word, and it's two words, comes from Ennea, which means 9, and gram, which is something written or something drawn. So especially it's 9 points on a circle.
Mhm.
That's all it means. 9 points on a circle. Um, but it is so much more. And we each take a stance on that circle. Each of us has our own position. It's a system of personality typing that tells us that there's 9 different ways of seeing the world.
Mm.
It's like we have 9 different ways to cope,
Mm.
9 different ways to approach problems, to strategize conflict. It's like we're trying to get our needs met in 9
Mhm.
different ways.
Mhm.
It's like we're speaking 9 different languages.
Uh,
And if we could learn to speak each other's language, just imagine the effect that that would have on our families, on our communities, our churches, synagogues, faith communities, as well as our politics. And
mm.
I dare to say, even our world.
Yes,
I believe the Enneagram could have that much of an effect for the better.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, and the other thing too is it not only tells us about ourselves, it helps us understand each other. So it's a map of compassion.
Mm.
And yeah, and I think it shows us the 9 different ways that we leave presence, and it shows us 9 different ways to come back, to come home.
Okay, you just said like 4 things there that we can have a whole nother episode on. But can here's why I it's impacted me so much is because when I am not knocking all of the other personality
Yeah,
types not types tests that we've taken, whether it's in corporate America, things like that, from a business standpoint, organizationally, but those always for me have always seemed like surface level. And I can either pick and choose how I'm going to maneuver within each one of those assessments, or each one of those personality assessments. And then actually, as I move to another level, then I may have to kind of adjust again. But I don't think any of them actually address the core of who Steve is and how I need to kind of come to grips with who I am and how I operate, because then that will dictate how I look at each and every level, each and every thing that happens to me in my life. What's your take on that, or your thoughts?
you did a great job of that, because that's really what it is. There are tons of great personality tests,
Mhm.
like you said, Myers-Briggs, Strength Finders, MBTI, DISC,
Mhm.
love languages. There's all kinds of different things, but those tell us more about the landscape, the terrain
Mm.
that we live in. It describes us, how we look on the outside. That's basically what those tests are doing. They tell us our actions and our reactions. But what makes the Enneagram different is it gives us that map of what's going on inside. It tells us what's underneath the hood. What's going on underneath. What's our motivation? Why are we doing these things?
Mm.
And really, what's running the show underneath all of those behaviors and things? And if we could understand why we do the things we do, then it helps us live our lives more awake,
Oh
more aware.
gosh. Oh gosh. Okay. You know what? I'm
Yeah.
glad. I'm so glad I'm recording this, because there are just so many nuggets that you are providing, not just myself, but also to our community of listeners. You said something earlier that I just wanted to touch upon before we move into a little bit of like the actual talk about decision making, if you will. You talked about the map of compassion.
Yeah.
Why is because here's the other thing, that when I think about some of the other personality types, is that I've never heard them described as a map of compassion, or as actually kind of looking under the hood for who you are. Why is compassion such an important aspect of like the Enneagram and the results that people receive?
Mm. Because when we can see, we have all, first, one of the basic premises is that we have all 9 types within us.
Mm.
We aren't just one type. We have all 9 types within us. So when we can find those types that are just like you, I do the same thing. When I can find that within me, then it helps me have compassion for what your struggle is, for what you're trying to get to. And I can also, when I know what your essential qualities are, what your best gifts are, and what you're trying to get back to, because that's basically what we do. We have these wonderful qualities that we are born with called our essence. And we forget throughout our life. We develop armor and coping strategies and cover ourselves up. And when we can start to uncover that with the Enneagram, then we begin to see that each person's struggle is very similar to my own. And it develops a sense of compassion. And it can actually help us be more effective in how we communicate with people, in how we build our teams, how we, not only our own inner life, but how we react and in our relationships as well.
I think for me, that was probably the most critical part. And I know this is just a funny story. So I have an older daughter, and she's 28, and I started talking to her about the Enneagram, and I told her, I'm a 3, and she's like, I may be a 3. I haven't taken the test yet. I was like, okay. I said, and I told her, I said, hey, I don't know if you're ready for it. And, I don't know if you're, and I'm not knocking anybody that wants to take it who's at a certain stage in their career. I'm not saying that as well. But I said, girl, I hope you're ready, because the information that you receive, you can go down a rabbit hole pretty quickly unless you're actually, kind of really, understanding it. And there's a book, there's a book, and I wrote back to you, and I think you know it pretty well, that I told her to actually get, because it helped her kind of like distill. And the reason I just said that to her is because, and this is probably for the listeners as well, is that the results that you receive are so rich, are so robust. Can you quickly talk about, because there is there's the healthy side and there's the unhealthy side of your result. I don't know if you wanted to wait till we actually got into the actual types to do that, if it makes more sense to do it that way.
I can actually talk about that, because I've already said something about the Enneagram being our capacity for presence, our type, and is about that. But as we leave presence, as we're more unaware, as we forget ourselves and step away from that, then we tend to go down the levels of health. So each type has 9 levels of health within it: 3 in the healthy range, 3 in the average range, 3 in the unhealthy range. And when we learn about those levels, then we can begin to see ourselves and perhaps look and say, oh, wow, I must be under stress. What's going on? I'm not responding. I'm not reacting in my healthier ways. So yeah, but we move up and down the levels a lot, all throughout the day, dozens of times. So
yeah, I think for me, it's almost like it's on the hour, right?
It is. It's like in one conversation. In one conversation, we have somebody that brings out the best in us, and we're feeling so great, and we're our better selves. And then a minute later, we're in the gutter gossiping. And we've dropped down a couple of levels. So, but what this does, what the Enneagram does, and I'm glad you kind of brought us here, is any good math has a you are here point. It shows you this is where you are. Well, the Enneagram helps us see the truth of exactly where we are. And I think that's what you were talking about, that might not be so comfortable.
Yes.
Because when we see the truth of exactly where we are, wow,
Oh,
it's not autopilot anymore.
correct.
You know, we've brought it to awareness. I love what Dr. Phil says.
Mm.
He says you can't change what you don't acknowledge.
Yes.
And the Enneagram helps us acknowledge our automatic behaviors, our patterns, all the things we do just without even thinking about it.
Oh,
It helps us build an inner observer so that we can be aware of our behavior.
oh,
And when we're aware, this is the tricky thing, Steve. When we're aware, then we have a choice. I think I shared this probably in one of the classes you were in. I sometimes, not very often, very rarely wear a Fitbit,
right.
but
Right. I remember.
yeah, but when I do, if I look at it and I'm, at the half of what I should have walked for the whole day,
Right.
and I go to the store, I might park at the back of the parking lot.
Right.
And because I need to get a few more steps in. Well, what changed? It wasn't my willpower. It was my awareness.
Yes.
It was the awareness that I haven't had enough steps. So once we develop that inner observer, have that awareness, then we have the power to choose our path.
Oh.
You
Oh.
know, do I want to go the same way I've always done it? Or maybe there's a different way.
Yes, yes. And I think that is always and that's the hardest part, is that choice, right? When you get to that point of, like with the Enneagram, of understanding who you are, and then you do realize that you have a choice, and it's not based on anybody else's perspective. This is kind of who you are. Now the ball's in your court to make a choice, and you can't blame anybody else.
That's right. When you're aware of it, what we want to try to do is bring awareness
Mhm.
so that then we can. If we're doing this work,
Yes.
more than likely, we want to be a better version. We want to be all that we can be. We want to be our best selves and grow, we're on a spiritual journey. I mean,
Right.
whether we like it or not, the Enneagram is a psycho-spiritual tool.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
both. So,
Well, it's funny. There's so many two things you said there. Well, I'll just use the one that you said that I often say about, like, leadership. I said, people, everybody's on a leadership journey, whether
yeah,
whether they know it or not. But
right.
it's upon them to be an active participant, in that journey, so that they can actually get the most out of it. And so, when I think the Enneagram for me has actually helped me along the journey, kind of understand who I am. And so this is a good segue into the idea about decision making. And I think, when you and I first spoke about this, and you're like, what? You were like, Steve, that's such a big topic. It's so big. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I said, it's not, and then I think we both realized that it's not so much about the actual decision. It's about the path that we take towards that decision, and then what makes up, the path for us from a personality standpoint. And then that provides us a little bit more understanding of why we make a decision. Would you agree?
Yeah, I so agree with that. And, I think that's part of it. We have 9 different ways of making decisions. And so as long as but we always think that everybody makes decisions the same way we do.
Right. Right. Right.
That's what we think.
Right.
but once we can recognize that people approach things in different ways, wow, that's a whole new game
It is.
for us.
It is.
And
All right. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I didn't mean to cut you off.
no,
All right. All
you
right.
didn't.
So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into, because this is I think I know our listeners are waiting. One of the things that I'm going to ask every listener to do, and I'll put this in the show notes too, is there are a couple of free Enneagram assessments, and I'll provide a link in the show notes for them to go ahead and take it, because I think either they can take it before they listen to this, or they could take it afterwards, and I think it will help them kind of galvanize their thoughts. But I'll also leave a link to Enneagram Atlanta, and any of our listeners who have a desire that they want to take a workshop, they want to learn more, like there will be a link in the bio to Enneagram Atlanta and Nan's institute down there that they can go ahead and take a workshop. Tell you what, it is worth the investment for yourself, professionally, personally, for everything. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the types. And Nan, the show is yours for the types, and I may jump in there with a question or two. But let's
please
go for
jump in. Yeah, please jump in. And Steve, can I provide just a tiny little caveat?
Absolutely.
About that?
Yes.
When you take the Enneagram test, the test points you in a direction.
Yes.
Don't trust it completely.
Yes.
The real indicator is what resonates with you. As you listen to these types, what really sounds like home. But the test is really helpful to help you, to point you in a direction.
Excellent. Good job. Excellent. I appreciate that. Great. So go for it. What type do you want to start with? You go for it.
Oh, well, I always, when I'm talking about personality types, I always want to begin with the type 8. There are a lot of different reasons for why we start there. It's the first type in the body center. We're not going to go into that on this podcast, but also I like to start there because it's easy to see the 8. It's they're pretty outward. It's and it's starting energy. It's like the kickoff in a football game.
Right.
It's, it's just gets us started. So we want to start talking about the 8.
Good.
And the 8 is the challenger. And so if you, I think when you and I were talking a little bit earlier, we talked about essence qualities, about our essential qualities. We can also talk about our highest qualities.
Right.
This is our best part of us. So each type has that. Each type also has some things that really make us stumble, make us suffer, get in the way, really, get us off track.
Right.
And so we want to be able to talk about those two things for each type, as well as what am I looking for? How am I trying to, which is involved in decision making, which is what you're talking about, that path towards decision making. So if my strengths, the things that I'm really great at, are my immediacy, my strength, and my groundedness. I bring that to everything that I come to if I'm an 8. And so this is about power and leadership. It's about very strategic. I have confidence, and I'm really straightforward. I'm a straight talker. I'm going to get right to it. I want the bottom line. I want you to give me the bottom line without a bunch of words. So if I'm an 8, that's pretty much what I'm looking for. And what triggers me, what I'm not my favorite thing, is timidity or weakness. So I especially don't like being controlled, and I don't like someone wasting my time. So you can begin to see this personality of the 8 come out, especially in a leadership role.
Right.
Kind of people come to mind when you're thinking about it, don't they?
They do. And I thought, honestly, before I even took this and I, once again, to Nan's point of around when you take the test, if you do take the test, is to not get caught up into if you feel there's a certain type that actually hits home more. You know, I thought initially I was an 8, and I ended up being a 3, and I realized I do resonate more with a 3 than I do an 8. But I think there are some men there, and I know it's not a wing, and we don't have to talk about the wings, or we may have we can do that later. But I thought, and sometimes I'm an 8 in certain situations.
I could see that it's both assertive type.
Yeah,
You know,
in
the
certain
8
ways.
is gonna, is pushing my strength outward. And so if this is my natural quality, this ability to have this strength and this innate leadership and power, when I feel like I'm losing that, it is monumental for me. It's like, oh, I don't. And so when I feel like people aren't listening to me, or I'm not making the impact that I want to or need to make, what am I going to do? I'm going to try harder. Instead of realizing that who I am are these qualities, I really don't have to struggle to get them. No, I'm going to start trying harder. So I start trying harder to get it by pushing my energy towards you.
Right.
So I'm becoming more demanding, more assertive, bolder. You know, I'm really maybe a bossy. I'm getting to be, this is the bull in the china shop. I'm going to demand my way. And so that happens as I get more and more stressed and I'm not making the impact. And so you can see how that makes decision making difficult, because you know, if I'm not getting what I want, if you're not hearing me, if you're not responding in the way I need you to respond, and for an 8, I need you to respond to me as if you've heard me, and as if what I'm concerned about makes sense to you. I can change, you know, my mind, but you have to hear my concerns. So, but what my first thought is, I want to take charge. I want to take control. So the 8 and the 8 in me is a control, you know, I'm going to take control.
Interesting. You know, and I think one of the other things too, and I don't want to take too many people down a rabbit hole, but I think I also think it's constructive too. You often talk a little bit about, and if we can, with each personality type, maybe highlight maybe 1 or 2 people that we may know. You know, I don't, that's okay. It is okay. I listen to me. I already know what number 8 is.
I know. I was just going to say, Steve, do you want to go there?
I want to go there. I want to go there. No, this is, listen to me. This show is all about the truth, and helping people. It is truly all about the truth.
And I think, and so I think this is what, there is some helpful pieces in this. Okay, I will say Martin Luther King is an 8. Mother Teresa is an 8. Was an 8. I mean, and most people think of her as a 2, loving and caring and giving herself. But you couldn't live in the streets of Calcutta without this strength and this power. But she had her heart as well. And 8s have a difficult time connecting, you know, showing that vulnerable side of themselves. But the other 8 that we can kind of envision in our mind would be Donald Trump. And if you think of him as a natural leader, which in his healthiest place he is, but I'm not getting what I need. And so what am I going to do? I'm going to double down and go harder. I'm going to go, you can see it happening. And this is the piece where no matter what our politics are, whether we love or hate him, hopefully this can help us have some compassion. That he's not feeling his connection to himself. He's not feeling his connection to his source. To and he's afraid he's lost that power. So I'm going to try harder.
Oh, okay. We can go all day with that one
all
too.
Right. I'm not leaving. That might help there. Okay.
Yeah, no problem.
So
excellent. All right, so the next one.
Okay, let's move on.
Yeah.
Because the 9 is about as opposite as you can get. The 9 is the peacemaker.
It is.
Right. So the 9 is all about striving to be peaceful. That's what I want. And my gifts are bringing that unity and wholeness and harmony and mediation. I'm balanced, I'm comfortable, I'm calm, and I bring that to every, that's just who I am when I'm healthy, when I'm connected to my source and to myself and to my own heart. When I'm connected, that is me, but I don't trust it. I don't trust that. And so as I leave that peaceful place, then I start really disliking anything that's going to create conflict, anything that's going to be confrontational or turbulent or pushy or arrogant, because you can see I'm thinking that does not belong in calmness. What I've forgotten is that in true peace, conflict can arise. It doesn't have to destroy my peace. It doesn't have to destroy the harmony. We can disagree and still have harmony between us. But I've forgotten that. So I double down. And what happens is I'm afraid to make a decision, because then I'm afraid it might affect our connectedness. So I become a little bit indecisive and I withdraw. I want to hear everybody. I believe very strongly that everybody should have a voice. I'm a great mediator. It's a wonderful person to have on a team, this peacemaker, because I can hear all sides and I can understand all sides.
Right.
But that also can keep me stuck.
Yes. Yes.
That also, when I'm trying too hard to be peaceful, then I think the only way to do that is not to rock the boat, to just keep everything the way it is.
Interesting. So one of the things you said, like initially when you were talking about the 9, was like you said they don't trust it. They don't. Right. They don't trust
None of us.
That peace. Oh, none of us. Okay. All right.
None of us trust that there's enough of our essential quality, of our best part.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't trust. If I'm an 8, I don't trust that there's enough power. I don't trust, and so I've got to create it. And the ego jumps in and says, "I can do that." Well, you can't create power. Power is innate within me. This leadership, this mentorship is innate within me. It's a gift.
Oh man, gosh,
that.
you just messed me up. Like, that is so powerful. Go ahead. I apologize. Go ahead.
No, when we get to your point, when we get to the 3, you'll see. But but it really is. I've got everything I need. We're like Dorothy in the red slippers. Everything I need is right here, but I don't trust it. So I'm going to go on this journey to find it. I just go in all the wrong directions.
Oh gosh, that is. I hope everybody's getting that point of that, because. But you can only, right, be, you can correct me if I'm wrong, you can only be comfortable with, not going and searching for it when you truly when you truly embrace like who you are.
Yes.
And give yourself that space, if you will, because
absolutely,
that makes sense.
Oh, so much sense. You have to know that most of us are more comfortable with our shortcomings than we are with our brilliance. Most of us can hardly believe who we really are, and who our fullness and our greatness really is.
I just finished an episode on imposter syndrome, and you know, it was interesting because just in my research, so many people have, okay, it's 70% of people, they say, around the world deal with it. But like Maya Angelou, Michelle Obama, Albert Einstein, like, you know, these are people historically who have dealt with, you know, imposter syndrome. And
I know.
and when you think about it, you're like, really? Like, you know, I mean, there's so many more people, but you're just like, wow, even people who have reached a certain level, right, of creativity, of change, literally changing the world, they still feel like they don't trust themselves and who they
Right. They
are.
feel like if I look under the covers, you're not going to like what you see. So I
Yeah,
better keep those covers on. You know, I better keep that mask on, because if I take it off, you won't like it.
yeah. Maya Angelou said,
So yeah, that's
yeah, Maya Angelou said, our quote said, I have written 11 books, and each time I write a book, I'm like, uh-oh, they're going to find me out. And
yeah.
I'm like, really?
And we all, in some way, some form or another, don't believe who we really are.
Oh,
That
wow.
all, you know, in some way or another.
So who are some famous or some well-known nines, if you will?
I would say I love Norman Rockwell as a 9. You know, he takes a snapshot and creates this piece, you know, the whole picture. 9s have this ability to see the big picture. And I love when, you know, he does that. I was just trying to find my little.
Go for it. No problem.
I go blank when asked. I should have had this ready for you.
That is okay.
Yeah. Who are some other 9s? Well, Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Yes.
And who else but Jim Henson?
Oh, wow.
Who could have created Sesame Street and that environment where we all respect each other, get along, and mediate? But
That's
him.
so true. That's so true.
Yeah.
That's so true. All right. Excellent. All righty. So that was the 9. We did the 8 and we did the 9.
Then we moved to the 1.
Now we move to the 1. All righty.
Is that enough? Are you getting enough for what?
I am.
For each type?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. And I hope you're seeing how this impacts our decision making. If I'm looking for harmony and peace, then that's what I'm looking for.
Right. Well, I think the other thing with the 9 is that you said that they can see all sides of the story, but I think the other side from a decision making standpoint is that they can get stuck in I don't know if it's the paralysis of analysis or it's
Is it?
Okay.
Well, maybe not of analysis, but it is paralysis because I just don't know which person, and I don't want to be disconnected from anyone that's in my island, you know, anyone that's on my team.
Excellent.
That's important to me, that connection.
Excellent.
So let's talk about the 1, because the 1 is called the reformer. And this is about what I'm looking for. We sometimes say striving to be perfect. I disagree. I think it's striving more to have a purpose, to make my purpose known in the world. You know, that is important to me. I want to make a difference in the world. Realistic type. They're a lot of times people think that they're in their heads. It really comes from the gut, that need to reform. You know, it's like if I want to go save the whales, that comes from a gut feeling of it that makes me move to do it. to actually follow through. It's not just thinking about it. I
Right.
actually lead the charge, like Joan of Arc. That would be an example of a one. So, but what my essence, what I'm connected to, who I truly am, is this knowing the goodness and the purity and almost the sacredness of every moment, every person. I'm very precise and conscientious. I have a discernment about me that knows the next right step, a wisdom about me that knows, but you can see how that could get distorted when I don't believe there's enough of that. Because what happens is that natural wisdom and discernment that helps me know the next right step becomes my opinion. And it becomes, a right and wrong. I know which one it is.
Interesting.
And I've got to, but I'm not feeling that natural wisdom. So I'm going to impose what I think it is. I'm going to work harder to find that. So I start correcting. A one is that it's a great person to have on a team, because you could go into what's wrong, what is not working, what's wrong. Personally, would be the person that comes in and straightens wall hangings because I just notice it.
So
I have this ability to notice. And so it's about competency and high quality and adherence to principle. I care very much. That's what I would say is I care. As a one, I really care. And I care about integrity and the goodness of things. But I can get really rigid, where it's got to be within these certain rules. So I'm going to double down and try harder to get back to that natural goodness, purity, order that is already there.
So one of the things that you said is that they react from their gut. And
yes.
So I love that whole the analogy about saving the whales. And
Yes.
does that come from a place of like true like compassion for the whale, or does it come from a compassion of being like, I just want to find an agenda or something to be passionate about and go after it, and then make sure that there's integrity and that my principles align with it?
That's a great question, because I think it really more comes from it's the right thing to do, which might be born of compassion. It might be born from that of course, why is my life more important than the whale?
Yes.
It's that, but it could be born from that. But I really believe that it's just the right thing to do. And we need to do this. Think about Ralph Nader, or who's people that Al Gore, someone that really cares about environment. That's where that comes from, that kind of feeling. Hillary Clinton might be a one.
Okay.
But you can see how it can move into this rigidity as well.
Ooh, that's a great point, right? Because you can have a perspective and opinion on something, and it could really truly kind of come from the gut, but then it kind of morphs into this I won't say my way or the highway type of deal. But like, I'm so compassionate about this. Is it that? Oh, is it? Okay. Alrighty. I didn't want to make too far of a leap.
And you're not. No, and you're not seeing it's true. It's almost like I know this is the thing to do. And so my opinion becomes it rather than the true gift of wisdom. It becomes my agenda versus the true gift of wisdom. Can you see the difference in that?
Oh, 100%, 100%. And I think that's the, because, that's, all right. So you gave us a couple examples of, who else are some other ones.
Let me look in my book here and see what I can come up with.
Yeah, no problem.
Because that will help us.
Yeah.
I know. We have a one. We have George Harrison. Of course, think about Martha Stewart, too.
Right. That's a great example.
Yeah, it really is, because on her show, nothing is, I can't have too much emotion or too little emotion. So everything is a good thing. It's not, oh, that's great. This is the best you're ever going to try. This is a wonderful thing. No, it's a good thing. It's very measured. I can't show too much or too little. There's very much this feeling of being under control. So, yeah.
Is that that's a great point around, because I think she's a great example of that. This measure of being under control, and this may go for every type, right? Because I'm thinking about it just in the context of, like you just said, under control, and making sure that you stay within your, I hate to use the word character, right? But you stay within your type and what kind of drives you. And I often feel like, and maybe I'm speaking from my personal experience, is that I found myself to make sure that I'm just kind of staying in my role and my type. But when I've been able to, kind of come out of that shell and kind of just truly embrace who I am, and not just fight against my type, then I'm able to have a lot more freedom. Right?
Exactly. That's so true. Yeah. And so when you think about one in, say, the business world, what I'm looking for is procedures. I'm looking for, those are important to me. Procedures, and that we follow the rules, and that there's a logic and a methodical way to do things. There's a right and a wrong way to do things. And that actually, even though it may be me being a little bit more rigid than when I'm really my very best self, it's also a wonderful skill to bring to decision making and to organizations.
Excellent.
That ability to see that, that creating order out of chaos. Let your ones help with that.
Oh gosh, that's awesome.
Excuse me.
That's okay. Yeah, that's okay. Oh wow. All right. Ooh. Okay. This is, like I said, this is good stuff. Go ahead. I apologize.
Okay, good. Tell me when I'm getting too bogged down. If we need to move on. Okay.
No. I think we have a good pattern and a good flow, and I think it will close.
I love your comments. I love that.
Thank you. I'm trying to just, because like I said, this is it is truly all about the guests when they come in here, and your knowledge is just like, as you can tell, I'm jotting down notes every time you say something too, and it's not just for follow-up questions, but it's also just for me personally.
So we'll talk about the two next. Yeah, this is my home base. This is my dominant type, and but also remember, we have all 9 types within us. But the 2 is about, we call the 2 the helper. So it's and it's about relationship. Everything for a 2 is about relationship. I'm like a little plug going around looking for a socket. Can I connect to you? Can I connect with you? Can I connect with you? I'm trying to,
that's awesome.
That's what's important to me. That's paramount. But my highest quality is this unconditional love. And there's a sweetness and a caring that comes along with that. And that's just who I am when I truly am my best self. Those are my better qualities. So this is about understanding and empathy and compassion, caring and generosity about the needs for others. But I don't trust that there's enough of that. So you can see when I trust that I have to be the one that makes the love, that provides the love, how it could begin to look inauthentic. It can begin to look not so real. It can look a little bit like flattery. It can look a little bit like leaning in, going towards the other person, getting more involved in someone else's life than they want or is necessary. Yeah. So I can also be considered emotional. So if in hyper emotional, when I'm not getting my needs met, I'm intrusive, and I'm showing favoritism maybe, and I'm really demanding that you see me and see all the things that I'm doing for this team. Can't you see all the work that I'm doing and how selflessly I'm giving of myself for the best of the team?
That's awesome.
So you can see how that natural ability turns into this effort, the not the real thing. And that's my personality. My ego jumps in and tries to recreate the real thing.
Oh my gosh. So you, one word I honed in on was favoritism. And do you, is it the tendency that you show favoritism to that person that's showing you the love back, or that's like embracing and loving everything that you are and what you say? Is that what tends to happen?
It is, and it especially because what's important to a 2, actually to the 2, 3, and 4, which we call the image triad, but what's really important is attention and validation. I'm looking for that. And so whoever's going to give me that, wherever the juice is, that's what I'm going to lean towards. So, but you'll find the 2 focusing on the developmental needs of the team. Actually take caring of people, caring and nurturing. So my decision making is about making sure everyone feels a part, that nobody feels left out, that we're all being cared for. And, that plays in to how I move forward. I also often, if I'm not in the lead role, I love to be right underneath the leader, be the wind beneath the wings, the one that supports them, the one that they couldn't do without, the most invaluable person.
That's interesting. So you're like the hype gal.
I don't want necessarily it's like, I don't want all the attention, but I really do. But no.
Interesting.
And so I'll get the attention by being that special person to the most important person. I'll be.
Wow.
So,
That's so constructive, right? Because I often talk about it from a leadership standpoint when I have a team and they're about to take over like a new business unit or something. I often say, and this is maybe not just have to do with that person being a 2, but I often say, hey, when you take over that business unit, I would say just be careful of that person that is always kind of like, that's going to be like right underneath you, and they want to just like to be the wind beneath your wings, because sometimes that could be disingenuous. Because it's almost like a safety mechanism, that they want to connect with somebody, and because they love their position so much, but they're just looking to connect so that way they can feel empowered or validated
Yes.
in that
And
sense.
that's it. Yeah, it's feeling that empowerment through someone else. Because, I don't feel like I deserve it necessarily myself. That would look selfish if I'm too pushy. But to help someone else, that's not selfish. And so it's
So
some way of getting my need met. I'm getting that need of attention and validation, and seeing myself as the loving one and connection.
that's so critical. Oh gosh. So who are
But it
some?
can be
Good.
manipulative.
Okay.
It
Okay.
can, it
That
can,
was my
and
next.
just, which is exactly what you were talking about. It can be a little bit manipulative because, I'm really using you for my benefit.
Yes, yes,
So,
yes. And I think that's the part that,
yeah.
yeah, and it's not all the time. It's not all the time. It's not all the time, but I
Oh,
think
I can
I've seen
say
that.
that because this is my corner. Remember, I'm a specialist at this. We all
You are.
have it,
You
but
are.
I'm an
You are.
expert at it.
You
No,
are.
I'm an
You
expert
are.
at two-ness.
A
I'm
tune is.
not talking about the Enneagram. I'm talking about I can speak about the dark side
You
because I
can.
know it.
You can, and so anybody who has it, or like I said earlier, to take a workshop with Nan, she'll go into depth about like her two-ness, and she'll give you some really good stories. Um, and she'll like, don't share these stories. I'm going to tell you anyway. but they're but they're really good stories because because here's the thing, is what happens, and hopefully everybody that's listening to this, and you're starting to think about your own stories too, about who
Yes.
you are and about how that's been playing out in your life. And I think that's, for me, that's why the Enneagram has been so impactful in my life. But it's helped me to look at other people differently and how I actually connect with them, and to your point, have that compassion for them.
Yeah.
So who are some
Let's
great
see.
twos?
Um, well, there's Dolly Parton, who
Mm,
would be great
mm,
too.
mm.
There's Sammy Davis Jr., great
Interesting.
too.
Interesting.
Yeah. Um, um, oh, Stevie Wonder.
Stevie
All you need is love,
Love.
all about love. It's all about that. Let's see. Oh gosh. I see some of the examples they give us. I need to do a real search
Yeah.
on some more current
Right.
people because they're all so old.
That's all right.
Because you
That's
would
all
talk
right.
about Florence Nightingale,
I know,
who
right?
the nurse, she's going to be the one that took care of everybody.
That's true.
And
That's true.
yeah, so yeah, I do. I need to do a little study on this,
That's
on the different
okay.
types.
That's okay. That's okay. That is all
Yeah,
right.
but those are, Danny Thomas,
Uh-huh.
who
Yeah.
he would be great too, because you think about the hospital that he started.
That's
The
right. That's right.
Yeah,
That's right. St.
I forget
Jude's?
the name.
Is it St.
Yes,
Jude's?
exactly, St. Jude's.
Yes.
Right.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah, twos can be, and Pavarotti, he has this
Mm.
big voice, very emotional,
Mm.
very drawing people in, those types of things.
Oh gosh, no, that's a great example. That's a great example. I actually, loved his persona and how he would always
Uh-huh.
carried himself as well too. So excellent.
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Now we are.
Are you ready, Steve?
Now we are about to hit into my
Entering,
wheelhouse.
we're entering precious territory here, huh?
The Steve zone. This is selfishly. I don't care. No,
Yeah.
I do care about all the other types. I'm joking. I'm joking. But I'm actually pretty excited to kind of talk a little bit about this one
Yeah.
as well too. So a 3.
So we call the 3 the achiever. And this the achiever is the success oriented, and but yet very efficient type. Those are the two words we usually use to describe threes. Again, they're in this image triad that the 2, 3, and 4 are in, and it's in the heart center. We moved from that body center into the heart center. And so it's about striving to be excellent, to be outstanding, to be the best example of who I can be. But the true gift of the three, what I have in spades without even working for it, is value. It is an intrinsic value. We almost say it's like glory. We say that threes are the stars of the Enneagram. They shine. They actually have that ability to succeed at just about everything they put their mind to. And usually it's because they're willing to put in the work to become that, the excellent exemplar of whatever they're doing. But I don't trust it. I really don't believe my value. I don't trust that that's who I am when I'm present and when I'm connected. So my ego jumps in, my personality jumps in and says, I can make that happen. And I become very prestige conscious or very image conscious. And so I'm working for it harder and harder. And I begin to believe that I'm valuable for what I do, not just for who I am. And that's the dilemma, because the more I don't believe that I truly have this intrinsic value, the more I'm going to work hard. And the more I'm going to forget who I am. But I know exactly what your heart desires. I just don't know what my own desire. I have a difficult time knowing that, but I know what everybody else values. And so there's a little bit of a chameleon quality that can come up with a three.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, because I can do that effortlessly. And think about that. That can be a wonderful skill. If I'm speaking to a big group, and all of a sudden I see that people are yawning, and I immediately can reframe it and go, oh, that's not working. They're not valuing what I'm talking about. I can move to whatever will get their attention back.
Yeah.
So it's a great skill.
It is. That is. Oh gosh. Okay. That is.
So speak to us, Steve.
My head's about to explode, because there are so many times, I think, before I even took the Enneagram, was that I often, felt this was a huge attribute for me, was to be able to come into a room, and I could assess the entire room. Yeah. I knew who the leaders were. I knew who the important people were. I knew who the lieutenants were, if you will. And I would quickly internalize what I wanted to get out of each relationship or each encounter that I would have with somebody. It was almost, it got to the point of being unhealthy, because I knew that was my skill and my ability to do that. And go ahead, I'm sorry.
Instead of using it as the natural gift that you have, because it is, when we were talking about twos have an attunement as well, but it's an attunement to what people feel, to what people are feeling. A three has that natural attunement to what is valuable. Yes. To what people really, are valuable, and what could be valuable for a group, what could be valuable for an organization, what could be valuable for me, Yeah. And it's a natural attunement. But when I start working it, it becomes a little different.
It was a consumer. I call it a consumerism mentality. Is that because I would strictly try to extract value
Yeah.
out of
Yes.
the relationships and not really give
Yeah.
anything in return. It was like, or I
Yeah.
could because I knew what they valued, and sometimes I would, but a lot of times I was just extracting the value out of it for my own knowledge or my selfish gain, or to utilize in the future, or to truly understand how to get the most out of this relationship or this
Oh, that
connection.
is so
Of that,
insightful. That is
so
so insightful, Steve, because that is the story of the three. And what happens is I'm working so hard doing that, I forget
yes, yes,
who I really am. I'm so consumed what everybody else needs and wants, expects of me and wants me to be, and becoming that so that I can rise to the top,
ugh,
that I lose myself
yes,
in the
yes,
picture.
yes.
But if you can think about what I offer and how I make decisions, it's very much based on that. But when I'm at my better place, then I can see what would be valuable to, I have this competent efficiency as well, that I can kind of cut through the chase and see, okay, how can we get this done quickly and efficiently? And
Yes.
and that's helpful. It can be very helpful. The only problem is I begin to think that those things we call emotions
Mm.
or people's feelings are like speed bumps, and they're just getting in the way. So I want to get down to the things that matter and will get us through so we can get back to something important.
Oh, you're just all in my wheelhouse. You're just all in my wheelhouse because because you're 100% correct, because for me in those moments, I just felt like they were inconsequential. Like, let's get to where we need to be, A to B. Like, well, how do we feel about it? It doesn't matter how we feel about it. It's just like,
Yeah.
let's get to this point of where we need to be. And then here's the other crazy part, though, is that when you get to that point, at some points, and sometimes there's a sense of fulfillment, but then other times there's really not. It's because you've actually missed the journey and
Yes.
all the richness that takes place along that journey to get to that point. And so when you cut all of that out and you get there, so now guess what you do? You start looking for the next thing,
Yeah.
and you keep going. I hope, does that make
Exactly.
sense?
Oh, so much. You got yourself. You know yourself. And I would say also the other thing that could possibly happen is I expect a lot. My bar for myself
Yes,
is pretty
yes.
high, and I have that same bar. I think other people can reach it the same way I can.
Mm.
And so I don't have a value of how difficult it might be for other people, because they're not willing to become out workaholics to achieve something. And most threes are. I'm willing to compartmentalize my other life so that I can, concentrate on this and just do this one thing. And so my expectations are that you should too. Until I wake up.
Yeah, somebody, I've had some really good, like, coworkers or partners, like HR partners in my role in my career, that have been able to, from a professional standpoint, say, hey, like, they knew my personality and they were able to be like, looking at the emotional side of it, and they would actually say that to me, because it was a trigger for me to slow down and pause and start to look at not just the end result and how do we get there. Because the other thing is that I'm there. Like, we could talk about something, dude. I'm already at the end,
Yes.
and
You're
and
quick.
yeah, I'm already at the end. But the healthy Steve, or the healthy three, says, okay, yes, you could be there, but you gotta step back, and you gotta bring people along for the ride, and
Right.
allow them to add value, to whatever it is that you're trying to achieve as well.
And the healthier you are, the more that mentorship
Yes.
just comes online, and you have this incredible quality of being able to mentor and to help people achieve their best self as well. Really moving together,
Yes.
raising others as well. So it's a beautiful gift, but it can turn.
Oh, it could be it can turn ugly. It can
It
turn
can.
manipulative. It could be like I really just don't care about your emotions. I can care less about your feelings. Like, let's get to this point. And these are all like I'm putting myself out there because I want everybody to understand like how much this has impacted me. The Enneagram was truly understanding myself and knowing myself, because I don't think without it, I think I still would have been in this, that unhealthy Steve, where I was just kind of going through the motions of trying to be excellent and looking for excellent experience upon excellent experience upon excellent experience, and not
Exactly.
and not really,
And feeling
yeah,
like a shell.
yeah. Oh, feeling
Yeah,
like,
feeling like, is this all there
is
is?
this all there is? Yeah, is this all there? Like, when I get to, it's like, this it? And there's no fulfillment.
Right.
There wasn't any fulfillment there.
And you described that beautifully, because I've lost the journey along the way, and I've lost the people and the camaraderie and the, of accomplishing a task together, because I personally can do it pretty easily by myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And more effectively and more, and it's a blessing and a curse. I'm
It
quick,
is.
able to do this. It's a wonderful trait, but
Oh my gosh. All right, I'm gonna stop. Who are some threes? Who are some threes, if you
okay.
can?
Well, my favorite three is Oprah Winfrey,
Yeah. Oh
because
my
I
gosh.
just believe that she can show us both sides of the three.
Mm.
You've seen her with that beef with when there was that lawsuit
Oh
about the
yes,
beef, and
that's right. That's right.
just that was not her best self. But then she also, she made scholarships for I don't know how many men at Morehouse College.
Right.
She didn't even know how many.
Mm-hmm.
And she did the Angel Network and Habitat for Humanity, mentors people to be their best self.
Yes.
You can achieve, you can reach all that you want to do. So she's one of my favorites. And then there's like Tom Cruise would be a
Mm-hmm.
3, and Taylor Swift would be a 3. Um, let's see, Sting would be a
Yeah,
3.
yeah, yeah. I remember that one. Yes.
Oh, Tony Robbins,
Uh,
the the motivational speaker,
yes,
Tony
yes.
Robbins. And the thing about threes is sometimes you see threes fall hard.
Yeah.
So you hear a lot about threes because they reach this tremendous height. And oftentimes you see it in the ministry. You
Yes.
see people that, because, my mom was a very religious person, so I became a preacher
Right.
to fulfill her needs.
Yes.
And I kept going that train, and I did the very things that I condemned others for doing,
Uh,
and very publicly fell,
oh.
because I wasn't connected to my own heart. I wasn't connected to the real thing. It was the image.
Oh, that's so critical, right? Because I have fallen hard in my life, and I completely attribute it to not the 3, but to my unhealthy self of
Yeah,
being caught up in that the veneer of
yeah,
who I was, and not the true essence of who I was. And so when that ran out, if you will, man,
yep,
it just or I how I put it, it's like when you come to the end of yourself, and you just realize
it's
that
true.
it just boom, it just happens. And so
And yet
Yeah.
The way
Yes.
back is this richer, fuller life
Yes.
that I can
Yes.
recognize my value and your value and the preciousness of everything we have. You know, the
Yes.
preciousness of each person involved in
Yes.
every bit. It's a beautiful,
Oh.
anyway,
Oh. All right. All
we'll
right.
move on.
Yes. We'll move on. We'll move on. Okay.
Okay. All right. The four we call the individualist. And this is about striving to have my own unique identity.
Mm.
It's about, so my best self is about finding meaning and depth and beauty, and creativity. So in a team, this is the richness.
Mm.
This is the creative piece that can be brought to light. And this is about originality
Mm.
and the ability to know that each person is unique.
Mm.
Each person has this quality of um, infinity almost.
Mm.
That
Mm.
yeah, and it's but I don't think I am unique enough. I don't think I don't think that. I think I'm missing something. I think something is missing in me. And so my personality jumps in and says, I'll try to recreate
Mm.
that depth and that meaning. I'll try to recreate that sense of emotional depth by what do you do? How do you recreate that? It's usually by sad stories or
Mm.
really, you often find in this type, you might find your artists and your
Right.
poets and your songwriters. You also might find those that feel like they need to dress in particular ways,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
goth or tattooed from head to toe and pierced, or they could be the elite, the
Mm.
very best of everything, the kind of esoteric type.
Ah.
So, because mine is so unique and individual, no one else is like me.
Oh, wow,
Hear that?
that's such a yeah. I'm so I'm so unique that there is no one else like me.
Yes.
But yet I still feel like I'm not unique enough.
Exactly. So I have to make myself more. My greatest gift is to recognize the individuality and the depth and the meaning of life and of each person. But I don't trust that. I don't trust that for me. So I keep thinking something's missing. So I go on this journey to find that thing. We say that fours often feel like they were dropped in the wrong family because I am so different, that they switched the bracelets in the hospital. I don't belong to this family. They're nothing like me. I'm so different. And of course, every parent thinks their teenager is a four because that's just,
I was just about to say my middle daughter has to be a 4 before you said that. Oh,
yeah, because, it's all about that emotional, nobody understands me, nobody gets it, is so awful. And usually it's a story. I have a story and it's a story of sadness,
yes.
that. And so I recreate that. I retell those stories as a way of keeping that emotion stirred up, because my
Mm.
emotion is how I determine depth and meaning. That's not the real thing, though.
No, it's
That's
not.
the fake version.
Oh.
My ego and my personality just thinks that's how I can get back there to who I really am, instead of realizing that in each and every moment, there is a depth and a beauty and a meaning that is right in front of us.
So does that uniqueness for, because I love what you just said, because that covers a wide, I would say wide spectrum. It's actually almost polar opposite, if you will, the esoteric elite that type of person, and then you have the they of course they have their, they're valuable too because they're human beings, but the person that may cover their artistic expression in their bodies with tattoos or whatever it may be, right? So like that's interesting. Like you have, I don't want to say polar opposites, but I guess in essence you kind of
Yeah,
do
but
from how society would look at it.
right, from how society would look at it. But you can see if the
Yes.
desire is
Yes.
to find my space, my own particular significance, I'm going to find it however it is. So it becomes my idea of what beauty is,
Yes.
or my idea of what this is or mean, instead of the real, true depth and meaning that
Ugh.
living life
Ugh.
brings us. You know, beautiful thing. It's a
Ugh.
beautiful thing. And so we have a lot of our, I always say for me, Madeline L'Engle is one of my very favorite
Uh,
authors.
uh,
She was my favorite author. She wrote a Wrinkle in Time,
yeah.
and she has a lot of young adult series, but she also writes for nonfiction. But she says things in a way that just touch me inside, and I go, oh, that's what I believe. That's what I would have said if I had those words. So a
Yes.
4 has that ability to say the deep things that we all know, the deep truths that we have, and that the 4 is comfortable with both extremes of life.
Mm-hmm.
So they're good to have at a deathbed because they're
Mm.
comfortable with death as well as life. You know,
Wow.
they're the people that you want around you. Yeah.
That's
So
so
oftentimes
interesting.
they
Go ahead.
get overlooked in the yeah, they get overlooked in the business world. But if you think about what that creativity and you can always ask, is there another way we can approach this?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
You know,
mm-hmm.
to the 4 in your group. They might be able to bring some unique way to approach or to market or to, so it's a really great thing to look at. So that's what they're also looking for.
That's so true. And I like, because you said, because I actually like the analogy about having that person like almost in like at your deathbed, right? Because
Yeah.
they could, I don't know, I guess the word kind of, the word that comes to mind is perspective, right? Of everything that's good and things that are bad, or are they able to provide that level of perspective, for you, for you, but they can't provide it for themselves, or
Yeah. Yes. And when they're healthy, they can
mm,
recognize the highs and the lows and not jump on the train of either one,
that's great.
because it feels almost, when they're not healthy, it could feel manic, you know,
Mm,
they're going either or. But when they're healthy, when I'm unhealthy, then those emotions, I recognize that these emotions come and go. I
right.
can recognize them, appreciate them for what they are, but not jump on and go downstream with them.
That's so true. That's so true. Because you can get caught up in their uniqueness or their ability to maybe tell a story, um,
Yes.
and then you can like just get
Yes.
swept away in
Yes.
all of that emotion that they're
Yes.
providing. That's not really like true,
They're
if you will.
stirring it up.
That's
I
stirring
had
it
a
up.
I had a friend, a 4 client, tell me that, that truly, I don't feel alive unless I'm feeling strongly. And so when I feel like I'm losing that edge, I'll just think of some sad things that happen. It's like I'm using my cauldron and I'm stirring up those emotions, getting them to boil so that I can feel alive again.
It's and we'll get into the types, but somebody that just comes to mind
Yeah,
because
who?
it's I don't Michael Jordan, and and here's why. It's because he was so unique in who he was and his like ability. But here's the other thing that he did too, that you just said it. He would stir up internal emotions about to get him going. You know, he would say, "Oh, you know, Nan said that I couldn't play basketball," but Nan didn't even say that. So he would internalize and think that Nan would say something about his ability to play basketball. So guess what? The next time that he played against Nan, he was so emotionally driven that he just excelled and brought himself to a higher level. That's just, oh my gosh.
And that's interesting. And that movie, that documentary about him was so fabulous. We usually say that Michael Jordan is a 3.
Is it 3? Okay.
But I would imagine he has a very strong 4 wing.
Yes.
So you could see how those would work together. His excellence, his ability to work hard and efficiently and expect a lot of himself, his ability to compartmentalize things, but bring that 4 edge in.
Yes. Oh, well, that's even better. That's even cooler now that Michael Jordan's a 3. Like,
I'm 3.
I'm not gonna get caught up. I'm not gonna get caught up in the numbers. Who are some 4s?
Oh, 4s are interesting. You know, think about singers, songwriters, Bob Dylan, and you know, Anne Rice, who wrote the Vampire Diaries. She's because 4s are often very comfortable with the macabre, with the darker side. You know, kind of the horror side. So there's Johnny Depp and James Dean. Let's see. Oh, Alanis Morissette.
Oh yes.
And of course Judy Garland.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, and you know, Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Yes. Oh yeah. I know.
Longing. It's not mine. It's somewhere out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the fact. I mean, I think Johnny Depp kind of came to mind too when you were talking about it. Just like his range of like characters that he's played.
Yes. He can draw.
I mean, and this,
from that.
But also, you know, when I think about his entire career, right? He actually started off. I can't remember what show it was, but he started off like clean. Like, was it 21 Jump Street, I think? And
may have been.
Yeah, he started off like really just kind of like, you know, I guess like straight and he used the word straight and narrow. But then as he started getting more into like, you know, acting, and then this artistic uniqueness side of him just started coming out. And I always felt like that was the essence of who he was initially, but he didn't have the freedom to express it.
Or he tried to package it in order to be accepted, you know, to be able to get in. But once he made it, once he kind of got in, he could be himself. And boy, what richness he brings to his characters.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, wow. Oh, excellent. Okay. Oh, man. We have... the 5.
Yeah. So one thing I would think about, and I know we're not really doing all business and all of that because it doesn't really matter. It's truly about who the individual is. But when you are communicating with a 4 in the business world, I think it's important to, you know, be sensitive. If you're thinking about you as a 3, you know, you're saying, come on, let's be efficient. Let's move on. So this is who you want to move right by.
Yes.
Who might be complaining, you know, and so they're going to feel overlooked completely because the thing that's most important to them is the meaning of the deal, the meaning of it, the beauty of it, the way it's packaged and presented, you know, that it be a great quality, all those things. So you have to let that show up.
That's good.
That's well.
That's good. I think that's also good for I know it's good for like a 3 and also probably for like an 8, right? Is that, you know, the kind of dominating personalities are to truly let like some of the other types, if you will, kind of be who they are and not trying to put them into what you think that that whole or that type that you think that they should be. So
that's
interesting.
Right. That's
Excellent.
good. Yeah, that's good. All right. So type 5 is the
Yes.
investigator. And we say in the they might be the ones that you think are looking to be detached. I'm looking to not necessarily, I'm not looking for that attachment connection.
Right.
I'm looking for my own individual place. Some people call them the observer. I really like it, the investigator, because I think there's a more active role in it. It's an observer feels to me like there's not really an active role.
Right.
I'm just kind of looking at everything. The investigator is, I find this curiosity and I'm going after it. I'm going to really investigate it, go down deep.
Yes.
And that's what the 5 brings to us, that ability. We say they have this illumination and this clarity. When they are at their best, there's this ability to take things that are not understood, or at least something from here and bring it together, bring a new understanding to it, something new. So you have a lot of innovators, you have a lot of inventors, discoverers here. They're the capacity to see their environment pretty quickly and synthesize those observations that they make. And and they have this ability to focus on things that other people miss. So I have that ability to really know what's necessary. So I can focus in on the important facts and let the other things go. There's a real intelligence, a real innovation, and curiosity. I would say curiosity is a key word for the 5s. But oftentimes this gets covered up by, I don't know enough yet. I don't have enough. I don't have everything I need yet. So I've got to withdraw to find more information. I'll think about it. Let me think about that. Instead of going with what that true clarity is in the moment, I have this aha moment. And all of us have experienced it. It's just that 5s are experts at it. That when I'm not efforting, when I'm not struggling so hard to get that clarity and illumination, it just drops in. And I get it. I see the big picture. I understand it. But I like to withdraw because I think I can't handle emotions. I can't give any of myself away to anyone else. It's too, until I figure out all this stuff. And if I give you some of me, then I might not have enough to do this important work of figuring things out, all this intellectual work. So 5s are often the withdrawn type. They detach, move away from, loners. You feel like that. Yeah.
So I mean, there's just so much to unpack there, but one of the things that I gravitated to, you said they could focus on things other people miss. Like, why is it? Because I often I've come across a lot of people like that too in my professional career, and I actually am a little jealous of that because that ability.
Me too.
Because I think they have a really good tendency to kind of slow the ball down, to slow the thought process down, whereas 3s, right, where and think quickly. And I try to find myself to slow the ball down, and I try it's really hard, and I can't sometimes. So I'm a little jealous of that ability for them to be able to do that.
That's so wise of you to recognize that, because that is what they bring, and that is what their gift. They have that ability. The thing is, the focus becomes what I'm interested in. When I'm not at my best, it's not, I'm just going to focus and I'm going to have this encyclopedic knowledge about one subject. And it's very much what I'm interested in. So I could go off on a tangent, but that true curiosity leads me to go from this point. Oh, and that point leads to this point. Oh, and that leads to me. And you were right to say that 3 says, oh, I'm at this point. I see the end, boom, I'm there.
Yeah.
And I've missed all those extra little points along the way that might provide really important insight in decision making.
Oh my
So,
gosh. Go ahead.
yeah, they're highly analytical.
Yes.
They're able to develop plans from to get to where I need to get to.
Yeah.
It just, they don't move as quickly as you might want them to.
Yeah. Yeah. I've actually, the more mature I've become in my leadership, I think the more I actually like having fives on my team.
Yeah.
Because they know I'm out there, but then they have the ability to reel me back in.
Right.
And say, okay, dude, well, you didn't think about this point, that point, this point. And I think anybody who's listening to this, and if you're a 3, even maybe that challenger, maybe 8 or whatever, like having that type of person on your team to slow you down, or I even having, like a coach or executive coach, like having that, because I would think that these people would probably be like, I don't know, you can correct me if I'm wrong, probably good coaches, because they can help. Maybe they're not, because the focus is all about them. But I think maybe at their best, they can help people see some of those little pit stops along the way. Maybe I'm wrong on
If
that.
they're healthy,
If they're
they
healthy.
could be. You're right.
Yeah.
But they tend to focus, when they're not their best self, they're focusing on data and fact.
Data.
And so I'm a head type. I'm in my head. I'm not necessarily, we've moved from the heart center over to the head center now.
That makes sense.
And yeah, so I'm very analytical, and I can also, just like the 3, I can also tend to disregard the emotional piece.
Interesting, because it's up for them, the data, and what they're going after trumps the emotional connection, because with data, there is no emotional connection. It's just the data.
That's right. And I feel comfortable there.
Yeah.
I feel really comfortable there. So, and I feel as if, it's very difficult. I'm not very, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not very sentimental at all. I don't understand that all the time. And again, these are generalizations. Not all 5s are like this. But as a group, one of the things we say is, it's sort of like, well, why should I get you a present for your birthday? You didn't have anything to do with it. Maybe.
That's awesome. Can I use that? Can I use that with my kids? I'm going to use that with my kids now going forward.
Right. What do you mean? But they can learn sentimentality, but it isn't something that comes that naturally. Sort of like, I don't understand this gift giving thing, or I don't understand why we make a big deal out of anniversaries, or those types of things just aren't all that important to me. It's not that I can't learn it, but
so we'll move it to a couple of people, and let me throw out somebody real quick, and you let me know if you feel it's a fictional character, but I just love him. I love him to death. Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, absolutely.
Is it okay?
Absolutely. I don't know if you've ever watched Doc Martin.
Yeah.
But on PBS.
Yes,
oh my God, there you go.
Yes. Oh yeah.
You see that? I mean, there's an innocence about them,
Correct.
kind of a naivete.
Right. But then there's this brilliance. But there's this brilliance that.
But they're awkward
awkward, socially awkward.
Yes.
You don't find yourself wanting to really spend time with them.
Yes.
But you can't discount their brilliance. So
that's right.
Well, who else do you have
true.
there?
And so let's see. I have Stephen King. I have Georgia O'Keeffe.
Mm-hmm.
Her paintings, that she was very much Tim Burton.
Tim Burton, yes.
Who did the Halloween, the Nightmare After Halloween, whatever it is. Kurt Cobain.
Ooh.
This could be the torture, that because I feel like if I can't make sense of everything in my world, you know, Vincent van Gogh.
Oh yeah.
It's, uh, I say as they get down into the lower levels, it feels as if that picture of Edward Munch's,
Mm-hmm,
who
mm-hmm.
the Scream,
Yes.
who's
Yes.
going,
Oh yeah, that's an
this doesn't
emoji.
make sense.
That's an emoji
Yeah,
right now.
it is. It feels as if I'm in a world of senselessness and I
Oh,
can't make sense of anything. Nothing makes sense to me. So it begins to feel like, so that movie, A Beautiful, that's what he was doing, trying and trying and trying and trying to make more sense of it.
oh, you are the
So,
I've interviewed so many people. You are, and I haven't. The fact that I'd have to bring this up. I love that movie, A Beautiful Mind,
oh, me
and
too.
I love. I there's a part in the movie that I digress, but I'll go into this little diatribe for a second. But there's a part in the movie that I just love. It's near the end of the movie when they're asking him, they come to see about the Nobel Prize, and
Yes. Yeah.
they're at the table, and they're like, well, hey, how do you feel? And he said, well, you just really want to know if I'm still crazy or not. And uh, I remember, and I often use this example a lot, is that when people are struggling with something and they feel like, well, oh my gosh, I just have to get over it. It's just, this is, and I'm like, well, part of this is always going to be with you. You just have to learn how to deal with it. And
That's right.
I use that analogy of when they were asking him about, like, are you crazy or not? And he looked across the room and he saw the three voices that he's been struggling with his entire life. And he said, or they asked him, do you still hear the voices? That I do, but I choose not to acknowledge them. And I just, that part, it just gives me goosebumps thinking about it, because when I think about,
Gives me chill. Yeah.
yeah, when I think about different things that we struggle with,
The
and sometimes,
strength of that.
yeah, the fact that you just, man, sometimes you just can't overcome everything, and that's not a weakness mentality. I think there's more
No.
strength in being able to deal with it than it is to kind of run away from it.
And that's a great thing, because when a 5 is under stress and in their
Yes.
less healthy places, there are conspiracy thoughts, and I am
Yes.
thinking that all of this, but again, it's learning not to push that away in the shadows, but to recognize this is all a part of me.
Mm,
Yes, I am that too. All
yes.
it I'm just, it's not I've got to push it all away. I am all of this.
Yes.
I am.
Yes.
And
Yes.
when I'm present to all of me, then those true gifts
Oh. Oh my gosh. Awesome. Awesome.
arise.
That's
For the
right.
5,
That's right. Yeah, man. Oh gosh. Wow. So
2 more. Are
two
we
more.
okay?
Two more. We are good. We are good. We are good. Yeah, man. Oh gosh, this has been just outstanding.
Oh,
Yeah.
you make it easy. Gosh, you make it so easy, Steve. And so interesting for me. I love it
uh,
when people are excited about
uh,
what I'm passionate about too. You're an Enneagram nerd too.
I
I'm just
am.
going to call you an Ennea nerd.
Idiot nerd. I will take that. I will take that. All right. So 6.
Okay. The loyalist, we talk about this as
Mhm.
the need to feel secure and safe. And this is about, my gift is that I have this inner knowing and this inner guidance. And there's an awakeness and an alertness. It's like I'm a sentry on a hill. And I
Mm.
can look out and know what's the next place to go. What's the way to move? It's a directional guidance kind of thing. It's sort of like your internal GPS system. Um, and so I'm dependable and I'm loyal,
Mm-hmm.
steadfast, and I'm responsible. You can see how this would be. I'm determined to do my duty, to do what's right, to do what I said I would,
Mm-hmm.
and what's best for the group. There's a community intelligence about 6s that knows this, but I don't trust that inner guidance. I don't
Mm.
trust that that's there, and so I'm going to look for it somewhere else. So I'm
Right.
looking for it. Whereas the 5 is looking for that safety and security out in their head. The 5 is looking for that.
Mm-hmm.
The 6 is looking for that safety and security in an outside authority. So I'm looking for that. I'm going to try to find it. I think somebody else has the information I need. I'm sure of it. If I just check with everybody out there, they'll tell me something that I might need to make my decision. So while I want everyone's input, and I'm really good at that community gathering, and
Mm-hmm.
that I believe everybody's voice belongs at the table, and everybody should have the same respect. But I expect you to offer that to me as well. I get paralyzed. Now this is analysis paralysis. This is where this comes in, because I'm thinking, I got to check and double check. I have to, okay, that's your opinion. What's your opinion? Oh, well, what do you think I should do? And it's all the people that I believe are in my best interests, my authorities. We say that 1s have the harshest inner critic. We say that 6s have an inner committee. I have all of these voices in my head, and they're all people that I've put there that are telling me, no, don't do that. Yes, you should do this. And it's like I never can decide which way. So what you experience on the other side of a 6 is like whiplash. It's like, oh, you said this and you want to do that. Oh, no. Now you're doing this, because I can't decide which one's the most important. And I think that if I worry and can prepare and think about things, then I'll be ready. I can make a decision. And so worry becomes my pacifier.
Interesting.
Worry becomes what I do.
Interesting. So that's such a like this departure from being steadfastness, being stead, having that ability to be steadfast, to having that or that inner committee, because you wouldn't put the two together, if you will, right? You would think steadfastness is more decisive. I get it, I understand, right? Or I love that imagery of being a sentry on the hill.
Sentry on a hill.
Being able to see kind of the vast land, and being able to understand where you are and then kind of where you need to go. But then you have the underpinning of like, well, maybe I do, maybe I don't. Like, let me ask so-and-so and all these other different people. So that's interesting.
Let me see.
Yeah.
It is. And it's as if they, we said about 1, they know what's wrong when they come in a room. They're going to straighten your picture. The 6s know what could go wrong. Yes. So in a group, it's really important. They often get labeled as wet blankets because they're always going, well, we can't do that. I mean, you haven't thought about this. You haven't thought about that. So especially around people that are positive outlook, they're going, oh, you have feels a little, but it's a great thing to have in a group.
I agree. Somebody
needs to think about, how are we going to make the electricity happen? And so the doubt and worry is so important, such a part of the 6, that we say they have PTSD, which is pre-traumatic stress syndrome. And they experience it the same way as if it's already happened.
That's, oh my gosh. How do you, okay, that's, because I just think that's so interesting, because, you are, the 6 is so caught up in the idea of what could happen, that, they get stuck in the paralysis of analysis and they can't decide. But the other side of it is like, how do you know when to trust them? How do you know when to trust their decision, right? Or their perspective?
Right. Well, they're not going to say it unless they're pretty sure of it.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
so
Okay.
that's the problem, is getting to it. And it's truly that the 6 remembering that who they are is someone that's inner guided,
Yeah.
someone that in a, you know, in a moment that actually there's all this out in front of me, but when I can feel the fear, because that's what I deal with, is fear and anxiety, and take the step anyway, then I recognize that I have everything I need to make that work. And 6s are also who you want to be around in a crisis, because it's like all of those thoughts that I worried about, like the pandemic, I'm pretty good during COVID because the worst has come true.
Yeah.
And I'm actually prepared for it. I have a locker of food. I have all the toilet paper I need. And so I kind of relax when the worst happens. So 6s are really great to have in a crisis.
That's a great point. I love that. I love that.
But also something happens too, all the fog disappears, and I actually know, I actually can act and know. I forget all the second guessing. I respond. So in the moment, I'll do what is necessary.
Yeah, so that steadfastness kind of
Yes.
rises to the top
Yes.
after
And
everything.
it's also for the group.
Correct.
You know?
Correct. You have to be steadfast for the group, and to make sure that we're all going in the right direction. That's, oh my gosh. Oh wow.
I know, that's great. So
yeah.
so I always think of Tom Hanks and the movie Saving Private Ryan.
Oh.
And it's a 6 playing a 6 in a 6 movie. It's all about the group.
That's so true.
Saving the group, getting together to save the one, you know, to save for the best thing, but it's also for them, you know, for the group. Think about Bruce Springsteen, who's been with the same group since the 70s.
That's right.
You know, the loyalty, he's got the same band members. He's also been married to the same person for, you know, the whole time. That loyalty, that steadfastness, they're people. John Bon Jovi, the same thing. And Bono, think about bringing the Pope and George Bush together to help cure AIDS. That ability to see both sides and bring them together, you know, for the common good. Let's see. A character on Seinfeld would be George Costanza. He would be your 6.
George is a 6?
Can you see that? The nervous Nelly. I mean, you know, he's always thinking about.
Yeah, what could we? That's my favorite. That's actually probably, like, I think number 1 or 2, my favorite show of all time.
Oh, I love it. So you'll have to think about that as you do it.
Yes.
Malcolm X, we say is a 6 as well.
Yes.
And again, you know, how do we know this? This is based on behaviors outside the way they look. Some are self-typed. Right. Yes, a lot of them are self-typed, but just recognize if they did it themselves, it may not. But the outside, the way we see them, these are behaviors that we see.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. All righty.
Yeah.
Okay. And last but very not least, you know, is a 7.
I know, and right. And I always say, poor 7s, we save them till last, because if we did them first, they would leave. They got what they needed and they're out the door. I can't sit through all this. You know? But
that's awesome.
When they're healthy, the best part of the 7, the very best part of the 7 is about joy and gratitude and freedom. It is the ability to have this enthusiastic savoring of all things, really experiencing the beauty and the freedom and the gratitude of each person and of each and everything in this world. They've got this infectious kind of happiness, this joie de vivre. They've got a spirit, indomitable spirit that gives up their hope bringers for the rest of us. They always bring us hope. They're the first that want to be in a natural disaster. You know, a tsunami hits, I want to go. That's the first thought. But they also bring a lightness and to situations, and optimism to things. But they can get, and people think a lot that this is all they are. You know, they're just like the Energizer Bunny. And so people become invested in them being their happy upbringers. You know, what's wrong with you? You're the one that's always the life of the party. So they feel like they have to be up all the time. And that just reinforces that when I feel sad, when I have these negative feelings, I'm just going to move on to something else. And so they're in that fear and anxiety triad as well as the 5 and 6. It's just that the way I experience anxiety is by being restless. It feels like restlessness to me, that anxiety does. And I don't like that feeling. So I'm going to leave whatever it is that's causing me restlessness and go on to the next thing.
Interesting.
I'm just going to jump to something else. So there's a feeling of incompleteness. You know, I might not have complete follow through on things. I'm a great startup person. You know, I might start a lot of businesses because I can vision and see all of that. But I'm also a jack of all trades, master of none. So I know a lot about a lot of subjects. I mean, I know a little about a lot of subjects, but I don't go deep like that 5. You know, the 5, I've got that, but I'm quick. This is the problem, is my mind is nimble and quick, and I get things really easily. And I think everybody should. And I just get bored when I'm sitting here having to explain this, and when everybody else is having to go over this. You know, and that B word is very difficult for me.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah. So, but again, this can be a really positive thing to have. You know, you need somebody that's got this positive, we can do this mentality.
Right.
Because these are can-do people. That's exactly what they believe. But get sidetracked by so many choices. And I feel like freedom, the real freedom that I know is just there for everyone. You know, you can be in a prison and still be free in your own mind.
Right.
But I began to feel like freedom is choices. So the more choices I have, the more options I have, then the more I feel free.
Is that from the healthy side or the unhealthy side?
That's the unhealthy side.
That's the unhealthy side. Okay.
I'm starting to think that I've got to have all these options. So, and one of the problems is if I make a choice, then I've shut all these other options down.
Correct.
So I don't want to do that. So I have backup plans. So this might be the one that's dating when they're young, say in college. And I have 3 dates. I have one for dinner, one for after dinner, and one for late night. You know, I don't want to get stuck. And if I'm enjoying the one for dinner, then I might call the other one and say, sorry, I got, delayed. I'm just going to, I have backup plans.
So
that'll keep me moving.
So this because that almost, it's not contrary, but this optimism and joy, where does it come from? And because it almost seems like they're just trying, I think just like almost all the other ones, right? We're trying to figure out how to sustain it. right? But
Exactly.
you know, where does this joy
And this
kind
is
of
what
come from?
happens.
Mm.
This is what happens is I believe that it's out here somewhere.
Mm.
I think
Mm.
that I'm going to be satisfied, but I'm never satisfied because I'm not, just like you were talking about for the three,
Yeah.
I'm not fully experiencing the moment, the
Mm.
experience I'm in. It's like I'm on vacation and I planned a greatest vacation for us, but I'm sitting in the room on Google looking up where we're going to go next. And I'm
Right.
missing
Right.
the experience that's right in front of me.
That's right.
Um, so it comes, the real joy, the real freedom comes from this knowledge that joy is innate within
Yes.
us,
Yes.
that who we are made to be are
Mm.
joyful, fulfilled, satisfied, free people, that we have that available to us. That in any moment
Mm-hmm.
we can let whatever's in front of us by just savoring it. I mean, it can be in a spoonful of soup.
Mm-hmm.
We can taste all the different flavors in it. We can feel the heat. We can smell the smell in that one moment, and
Mm.
it can nurture and satisfy us. But I never allow myself to slow down enough to really experience the moment.
Mm.
So
Mm.
that joy comes from knowing that what a smorgasbord life is, that life gives us options and experiences that are better than anything I can drum up.
Mm. Oh wow, there's such a freedom. There's such a freedom in
Yes.
that, right? When you,
Can you feel it?
I
Can you feel
can,
that?
I can, and I think that's that's I think the beauty of, you know, not just this type, right? But
Right?
almost
Yeah.
every type. There's a freedom in like allowing yourself to really be kind of like
I,
yourself, you
I
know?
love this, Steve. I love what you're bringing together, because what you're recognizing is all of these essence qualities that go around are feeding each other.
Yes,
It's almost like a daisy chain,
yes,
that
yes,
once we recognize that, oh, there's this within me, they're showing me, they're leading me to this in
yes,
my own self.
yes,
Because I can find this more easily when I see how you experience it.
yes.
When I see the excellence that you have in your life and what you've achieved in your podcast and how you're doing this leadership, it inspires me,
Mm.
to hold my own bar a little higher, just naturally.
Yes.
And anyway, you can see how that leads and feeds each other.
Oh, absolutely. Who are some sevens?
Sevens would be, of course, the ones you think of, like Lucille Ball.
Right. Oh
You
gosh.
think of the
Oh my
fun, the
gosh. Yes.
comedians, and
Yes.
um,
Mm.
Jim Carrey would be a seven.
Oh my gosh.
You know, um, there's also the other side of the seven that doesn't feel the satisfaction. So that would be Robin Williams.
Right.
That you feel that desperation too. Um, Bette Midler,
Mm. Mm.
um, John Kennedy,
Oh wow.
John F. Kennedy.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Gosh,
yeah,
those are some good, they're all good threes, right? Or good sevens, all of us. Oh wow, so much to unpack. But if for our listeners out there, I really hope you were able to really get a good understanding of really what kind of the Enneagram is, and why, for one, I'm so passionate about it, and why it has truly, and I know a lot of people, oh my gosh, this changed my life, but this has truly changed my life, from understanding who I am, and to how I deal with people, and to, first of all, how I deal with myself, and
yes.
how I lead myself, because then that just becomes an outcropping of how I lead and how I deal with other people as well. And then as we close, can you give us some some words of wisdom and just some thoughts about the Enneagram and how we could, this is going to impact our lives and how it can impact our lives as well?
Yeah. I think you can begin to see that this is so much more than just a typing system.
Yes.
It's, my mentor and one of my teachers, Don Risso, said the Enneagram, people think the Enneagram puts you in a box, but the Enneagram shows you the box you're already in and how to get out of. And that's what I think, we can see that this is so much more than just a filing system of how we categorize people, but that we can learn to appreciate all of who someone is. And that we tend to give what we need. We tend to give to others what we need ourselves. And when we can recognize that maybe rather than giving them what I need, it might be interesting to understand what they need. And look at how I can see the highest parts in them, how I can see their best qualities. When we can see and speak to, in an honest and real way, the best qualities in someone else, we almost give it birth. We help them remember who they are. We help them remember who they are as we remember who they are. And when we can change our set point in our health, just one level, just one level, then we have changed everything. We've changed who people are relating to. We've changed how we see the situation. We've changed how we see the other person. And possibility is huge. We can speak to each other as our highest qualities, see what's best about each other, and have compassion for what we're trying to get back to, what each one of us is trying to return to.
Oh my gosh. Nan, could you tell everybody how they can get in contact with you, and
Sure.
maybe just a little bit about, like, your workshops that you do as well, because I'm going to recommend them, and I'll have links and everything, but I just wanted to get your, tell them a little bit about what you do as well.
Great. At Enneagram Atlanta, it's enneagramatlanta.com. That's my personal website, and my daughter and I work together in that, and that's where I do the 4 Risso Hudson authorized workshops, which are Enneagram Institute authorized. And so the Enneagram Institute is out of New York, and if you haven't been to their website, it's a wonderful website as well, and you should go there and sign up for the Enneathought, which is a little thing that comes to your mailbox every day, and it's at enneagraminstitute.com. But you can see all of the list of workshops that I do there and sign up. Also, my colleague and friend Linda Roberts and I do have the Enneagram Georgia website. It's enneagramgeorgia.com, and that's where our certification and training program is. So if you're interested in being confident and prepared and have the credibility to actually use the Enneagram in your work and in a little more deeply in your life, this is for you. It's a 2-module, 4 days each, certification and training program that is accredited by the International Enneagram Association.
Excellent. Well, two things. Well, I will have links to all of those. Well, 2 things. I will have links to all of those in the show notes. And then the second thing is that I can highly recommend the Enneathought, because I get it every morning, and it shows up in my inbox at like 2:09 every morning, 2:09 a.m. So whenever I get up and it's actually probably the second thing I do. I have some quiet time, and then I read the Ennea thought, and it almost seems to just kind of prepare. It almost seems to mirror things, but it also, what it does is it sets me up for the day. It gives me a really
Yeah.
good thought perspective. And then helps me kind of like, okay, already, yeah. There's affirmations. There are things that the Ennea thought just has you think about on a daily basis, and so I can highly recommend the Ennea thought. There'll be links to all of that stuff as well. Nan Henson, thank you so very, very much for being here on the Worthy Podcast. I just had such an outstanding time. I know that our listeners are going to be just taken aback by all the information that was provided, and they're just going to be like amazed at, whenever they take it and they want to do some deeper understanding of what the Enneagram is, how it's truly going to impact their life. So I just want to say thank you so much for being on the show today.
Oh, Steve, it was so much fun. Thank you. I enjoyed every minute.
Excellent.